My name is Evan Cornwall, joined by co-host Philip Miles, and today we're going to be interviewing Cohen Kolmer on the stigma surrounding mental health as a teenager.
Cohen. Our first question is, what is your experience with the stigma around mental health as a teenager?
Um, well, growing up as a teen, we all have the little voices in the back of our head. Like the general aspect is just scary in general.
Mhm.
Like I was while growing up, I was bullied pretty badly. So I was kind of forced to stay quiet about whatever I really had my mind, whatever thoughts were on my mind, and was always brushed off. Somebody a chip on somebody's shoulder. They were like, okay, get away from me or something. It was it was almost like a self-antagonizing deprivation.
Yeah.
It's just think of a little kid trapped in a box or something like that. It's one of those type of scenarios that are that society has kind of built around the stigma of mental health today.
Yeah.
And it's not really a household term used anymore.
So what were some of the concrete things that made it more difficult to talk about your mental health? Would that be the bullying and
Yeah. Some of the concrete things I would say is the type of household that I grew up in.
yeah, for sure.
It was either you grow up and you be the man, stop you're crying, your problems are your own problems. You need to deal with it on your own time, or you try to talk about it. You would
Yeah.
always be shut down. It was also being scared of what everybody else thought of me, because
Yeah.
that's just how I grew up too. It's just always seeking that validation and never really grabbing onto it. But it's just past little aspects of life that really needed to be implemented into somebody else's life. For the unfortunate circumstance, it was mine, but it was also the aspect of being seen as weak in the end,
No, yeah.
because you don't want to be seen as weak, because you're really searching for that strong sense of admiration in yourself.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Growing up, it was always kind of I hiding, if I was crying, hiding the tears from other people, because it was the whole idea of boys don't cry and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
just, I didn't want to be seen as weak. And people who express their mental health to their peers got made fun of, got looked down on. And it was also kind of, even when hearing adults talk about it, it was very hush hush kind of. Even just when the word suicide came up, it was always
Yeah.
quieter than the other words, in the sense it was suicide.
Yeah, and I think also being around so many different adults, it's your mind is almost formulated into a set mindset, because you grow up with a certain style, or you grow up with a certain way of living, and it's almost as if you're whatever these people are doing, I have to do too, because I have to seem like I'm doing the correct thing.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
People grow up with their parents' political beliefs until they finally have the realization that they have their own beliefs. And it's it's just the sad aspect of trying to formulate your own beliefs.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of courage to come out of your shell, to then almost hit pause on your own life and on somebody else's life at the same time, and then be taking a step back from it, and then having to just fully engage yourself and throw yourself into the mindset that's maybe this isn't what I'm actually supposed to be thinking.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Family definitely plays a huge part on how your mental health and your just mental state of things as a kid. For me, I wasn't growing up in an emotional household, so when someone one of my friends was crying, I just don't know how to support them really. I don't know what to do as much. I'm not mentally mature in that way. I don't know.
Yeah, and honestly, and like I said, so many people grow up in so many different types of households. It's not the aspect that you don't care. It's the aspect that they're I have no clue. How you said, I have no clue how to help this person,
Yeah.
because I've never really had to in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say for me, I grew up in a household that was really mental health wasn't really talked about
Yeah, for sure.
much.
Yeah.
Like I said, your problem's your own problem. Deal with that on your own time. that was like one thing that like my parents were like, yeah, you need to focus on schoolwork. You need to focus on whatever is going on in your life, whatever like problems you have up going on in your head. We're going to focus on that last because this is more important.
Yeah.
Come to be, it's actually not. Like the most important thing is what's going on up in your head, because if you're not mentally like stable, or if you don't have good mental health, then you're not going to have a good reflection in whatever you're doing in the day.
Yeah, I feel like such a big part of why it's so swept under the rug is because it's like it's invisible physically. Like with a physical illness, like if you have a cold, what you do is you take medicine. You don't just say, oh, it'll go away on its own. Like it will eventually, but you take medicine. Like you don't break your arm and then say, oh, you know, if I ignore it, it'll go away because it's a broken arm. Well, like with mental health, it's just as serious a lot of the times, and it has like severe consequences and stuff like that. So, but it's invisible, right? So it's so easy to like sweep under the rug, and then that's like where the taboo is kind of created.
Yeah, and it's also like you're just so scared that you're going to be shut down afterwards.
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
Because you're like, what if like whatever like I'm saying, whatever is coming out of my mouth and whatever I'm thinking, the other person just doesn't believe.
Yeah. Since like it's easy to recognize how like a broken arm or something like that wouldn't define someone, but it's so easy for us to make generalizations about someone based on their mental health, since it has to do with how they act a lot of the times.
And so many people just jump to assumptions and conclusions about like people say like first impressions are like what formulates your personality.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah, exactly.
Like first impressions is just like whatever you perceive a person as. And then you start learning more about that person. You're like, oh, okay. Like you start connecting dots. But like mental health is like, it's basically like a second nature. It's like somebody needs to learn it and perceive it, and then they can finally connect dots to it. Like, just like, you know, diagnosing a disorder. Like I have generalized anxiety and bipolar disorder. So it wasn't like I wasn't just like born with it. Like I grew up and like gained the disorders.
Yeah.
And then we had like over the years, like people were like, okay, like something's like something's wrong, because like, you know, I was going in and out of episodes. People were like, okay, like this kid is actually like crazy. He came out of a mental asylum. I'm like, no, like something, like I was telling my parents like something is wrong. Like I don't feel good.
Do you think if like the environment that you were in made it more easy to talk about that, you would have caught it earlier and you would have been better off because of it?
I believe, yeah, for sure. Because if I was in a better environment and if I grew up in a better environment, I feel like I would have had like a better understanding, a lot more courage than to come up to my parents than like, because I got diagnosed and I went to my parents about this a year ago.
Yeah.
Like about a year ago now.
Wow. Yeah.
And I just got diagnosed with it over the summer. So I think if I grew up in like a different environment, like a more, I wouldn't say like more loving, but like a more open, you know, like open-minded environment, then like I would have like been able to have a lot more courage to come up to my parents and be like, hey, like I don't think this is correct. Like I think we need to take a step back and actually try and figure out what's going on.
So do you think the stigma around mental health is represented in media or in school, or like what aspects of society is it kind of like pushed or represented?
I think it's the stigma of mental health is almost like how you say it's swept under the rug. Like it's represented and then somebody talks about it for 5 seconds.
It'll try to be brought up in like the media or something, and then it's instantly like
exactly
yeah.
And like it's like most definitely swept under the rug, and it's like they try to hide all of the aspects of it. Like you know, it's like, oh, like all the bad aspects are like, oh, like, you know, somebody brings up suicide and it gets completely shut down. It's like, no, we can't have this. Like, we can't talk about this. Like, this is gonna, like, you know, somebody up on a podcast like this would be like, oh, we can't have this or else we're gonna get like demonetized or something like that. No, like, why are you being demonetized about something that needs to be talked about?
Exactly. Yeah, that and do you think that like in movies and television and stuff like that, because this is something that I think I've seen a little bit of, it's too generalized? Do you think like depression
Oh,
is too. We don't talk
yeah.
about enough about like what types of depression there are and maybe what
Exactly.
types of anxiety. Like, and it's super, especially with like ADHD and OCD. It's so generalized to the point where people are just saying, "Oh, that's my OCD. That's my OCD," when like they don't actually have OCD
No.
and they don't know what it's like
Yeah.
to actually have OCD.
Exactly. And like how I said, I have ADHD, generalized anxiety disorder, and bipolar all in one.
Yeah.
Put that together, you have an apple pie, whatever
Yeah.
you think.
Yeah.
You cut into it,
There's
good,
all
there's everything in
all
it.
sorts of stuff in the yeah.
And I 100% believe that it is almost glamorized.
It's romanticized.
It is very much glamorized, romanticized, and you only ever see one aspect of mental health in movies, and not like you don't see like the people actually going crazy about it. Like people actually like start breaking down. Like, you don't see that. You just see like, oh, like people are crying here and there. Like,
Yeah, it's
whoop-de-doo.
depression. Oh my God, yeah.
Like depression. Oh my God, like depression. No, but you don't see like the people that are like genuinely, probably a bad word, but tweaking.
Yeah,
Like, we go like crazy in
yeah.
our minds. And it's almost like we have no control over it. Like
Exactly.
we're like we shudder, we fidget, we word vomit so badly to where like people are like, what are you even saying anymore?
And because it's so romanticized, that kind of perpetuates the stigma, because when it's romanticized and then people like, when people start to talk about what's actually like really bad about like bad mental health, then people kind of shut down and people kind of sweep it under the rug, because it's like, no, this is what I've been shown depression looks like, which is like crying here and there and that kind of thing. But then when people start to bring up what it's actually like, then people start to get uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I'd say like mental health is almost advertised.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people post, like people talk about mental health, but they don't talk about like the bad stuff that they actually went to. They leave all that stuff out because they don't want the idea of themselves to look bad either. Like they want to make themselves look better, as if like they actually got better. You know?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Mental health doesn't take a month or two to get better.
It really doesn't.
It takes years years to get better.
Yeah.
And it's like how you said, like it's dramatized and almost made into a false reality, and kids are like being like brought up. Like younger kids are now watching this stuff and being like, "Oh, I have that."
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry to tell you, but you don't know that yet.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you can, almost like I'm pretty sure like 75% of the population on Earth has like depression of some sort.
At least at one point in their lives, yeah.
At least at one point in their lives. And it's that people don't know what like major depression is until they actually hit their rock bottom.
Yeah. And then you realize really quickly that it's not
You
worth being
realize
romanticized.
really quickly, you're
exactly.
like, wow, like this is like something completely different.
What do you think are some of the consequences of the stigma surrounding mental health?
Well, you have your basic ones. Suicide.
Yeah.
That is definitely up there. It is one of the like least talked about aspects of the mental health community.
Oh yeah.
And they don't talk about it because they don't want to scare anyone. And also people internalize their thoughts so much. Like I don't think you understand that like people with mental health problems, they don't talk about their mental health because they're so scared to.
Exactly.
Like,
I think the whole thing with suicide is like a lot of people don't realize that suicidal doesn't always look how people expect suicidal to
Exactly.
look. Like people with like depression can have happy moments, and then people are like, oh, so you must not be depressed, and that makes it really hard to tell if someone is actually suicidal, because it sometimes on the outside they appear really happy, really like bouncy, really bubbly, and then like you actually just have no idea.
Yeah. Like for me, like I have like an outgoing personality. Like I talk to a lot of people, but like again, I've been diagnosed with depression.
Yeah.
I have depression, and again, I have happy moments, and I also have a lot of friends, but I always feel alone, you know? Like there's never like that that comfort, like somebody is like, you know, coming up and like just giving you a big hug.
Yeah.
Like it's like, who is that person? Like you're trying to
Yeah.
find that person.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like you have all these people around you, but you feel like no one's really going through what you're going through.
Yeah,
like, you
because it's
feel like
not
you're stuck.
because it's so not talked about. Exactly. And the whole thing with the consequences is like for suicide, I think a lot of people that have suicidal thoughts are afraid to talk about it because the support system surrounding it is just so flawed. Like I feel like it's hard to open up to people about it cuz I mean like the first instinct for loved ones, for schools is to send them to psychiatric care. And psychiatric hospitals, I mean, they're just not the solution. Like you hear all sorts of horror stories about them. It's perpetuated in the media that it's just not they're just not healthy for you. Like it's more of a prison if anything. Like they're not there to make lasting positive effects. They're just there to stop you from killing yourself. So I think a lot of people are afraid to open up about like suicidal thoughts because they're afraid of that.
Yeah. I have been to the mental hospital 6 times in my life.
Yeah.
I have been to the mental hospital like 6 times since I was 13. Their job, like I tell this to everyone, their job is to take you in, break you down, diagnose you, give you meds, and send you off.
Yeah, I've also been. It's very dehumanizing. They take everything from you.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I was allowed to keep my phone because my parents signed like a form or something to allow me to have it because they wanted to stay in contact with me 24/7 to see what was going on. But even then, like I was only allowed to have like 2 hours or like not even. I think it was like an hour on my phone a day, and like you wouldn't be fed you wouldn't be fed every day. Like I was fed, I think maybe once every 2 days.
Yeah. So when I went, I was not allowed to have my phone, and they had like phones that everyone could use, but they didn't even bother to make sure that they were working.
Yeah.
So you really felt isolated because you literally could not contact your loved ones.
No, literally.
Yeah. And I think a reason that psychiatric care, at least in America, is so messed up and so like horrible, like we're talking about right now, is because of the stigma around mental health. The change isn't happening because people don't want to talk about it. And people, I think society in general is so eager to kind of control this population of people with significant mental health issues that they're just willing to kind of pretend that the mistreatment in psychiatric hospitals just doesn't exist.
Yeah. I've actually like done like a little bit of research on like the mental hospitals. They actually have like an underlying like form of consent that will like that makes it legal of what they're doing inside.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And even still they push that as much as possible, and people, it's just right under our noses, and people just don't even pay attention to it. Like I read a study that studied, I think, mental hospitals in 3 different countries, and out of that, 31% of psychiatric patients had been physically abused during their stay, 8% had been raped, and some 90% had experienced verbal abuse, manipulation, coercion, victim of someone's superiority, that kind of thing, because their power is just the quote unquote caretakers in psychiatric hospitals, like they have this power and they're just like on a power trip and they're just abusing this power because nobody's going to say anything about it because of the stigma.
Yeah. I have one question for both of you real quick.
Yeah.
Just think about this. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your stress level?
Currently in this moment?
Yeah.
Or just in general?
Like, let's go in general.
In general, I would say probably a 7 right now.
Mm-hmm.
In general, I don't know. I think right now a bunch of schoolwork. School really affects my stress, to be honest. Like right now, my labs are done, and I'm not feeling too stressful. I'd probably say a 4. Life's pretty good right now for me.
Yeah, thankfully labs are done. Yeah. I would have. I don't know what I would be doing, but yeah. So if you're actually above a 5, you'd be getting a dosage of your medication. That's what they would do to you. They'd give you a dosage of your medication, and like that medication, they would put like sleepers in it. So like something that something that would make you to fall asleep, and like put you in REM. I hope y'all both know what REM is.
Yeah.
So they like you're dreaming, like your dreams, it can cause you more stress, but it makes you relieve it. That's the thing. So they're trying to relieve that stress out of you, and they're trying to basically formulate a non-existent like reality, being like, oh, they're trying to make you addicted to these drugs to
Yeah.
keep you
Yeah. Exactly.
like, on your feet and
Yeah.
to keep you going.
When I was there, I had no choice.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what my stress level was. I had to take the medication. I had no choice. And at that point, I had just submitted to it. I wasn't going to tell them, no, I'm not going to take the medication, because I had been so dehumanized up to that point. I mean, literally you're in paper scrubs. Like you don't have clothes. Like they treat you like crap. Like they treat you like you're not even human. And you're just a victim of the system at that point.
And I hate to like tell like, you know, kids, like little kids go into this.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I was
yeah,
13 whenever I first went. It was horrifying. I was scared.
Very scary.
I had no clue what I was going into, and next thing I know, I couldn't shower like for almost like a week and a half.
You can't. Yeah, you can't shower, and then when you are allowed to shower, they give you like one of those little cups that they put condiments in at restaurants, like the little ketchup paper cups.
They give you a
and
little bit of shampoo,
and
a little bit of conditioner, and that's your
that's
your stuff for the week.
So yeah, you just have to have dirty hair and kind of live with that, and it's
and it's like you see kids come out of like the mental hospitals and you just
traumatized.
Yeah, you see
like
them,
it's more traumatizing than like people tend to they leave mental hospitals feeling numb.
Mm-hmm.
And like overall worse off than they were, but they're not going to kill themselves now, because they know if that kind of thing comes up again, then they're going to have to go back.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, like you guys know what a penitentiary. Oh my god, penitentiary is like.
Yeah,
those
penitentiary.
Yeah, how do you say that word?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the last one, like, still standing, like it's still up and running, and like they're horrible places.
Oh yeah,
they're like the worst place to like go for like mental health or anything. I think it's in like Oklahoma or something, someplace like that. But I was reading an article about this one place that was like in Missouri. Like it was opened up here in Missouri, and they overcrowded it, and they put about 200 kids in like one room. Like they had to sleep on the floor. They were sleeping on top of each other. Like that was like their home. And there's like pictures of it online that you can like see, and you could just see kids like after like the building finally got like, you know, defunded and like demolished. You see kids like happy to finally be out.
And
like,
these are kids. Like these are kids. These are children.
These are like 8 to 10-year-old kids.
And can you think of like the difference in society if people just talked about it? Like, let's say these kids were not afraid to be treated like that if they open up about their mental health. Let's say that these kids could have gone to their parents and had an open discussion about their mental health, and it just wouldn't have to have gone that far.
Yeah. And I think it's like such a sad subject too, to like just even think about, because like if I was a parent and I was sending my child away to like a mental health, like a mental hospital, I'd be scared.
Yeah, terrified.
I'd be like, what are you going to do to my kid? Like, I need every tiny ounce of detail that you're going to like.
I mean, and even then, you just don't know. Like,
because they could give you like a full.
I mean, 31% being physically abused during their stay,
and which is crazy.
Yeah, and 8% being raped.
And it's like one of the scariest factors too. Like, you have no clue what's going on inside, and you have no clue what's going on in other like departments.
Yeah.
Because there's like different wards. You're numbered a ward. You go in. That's where like you're staying. You have like a singular room. Sometimes you may even have like a roommate, but that's it.
Yeah, it's really yeah. So, yeah.
All right, I'm sure you've heard of hashtag end the stigma, right?
Yeah.
Movement.
Yeah.
What do you think, or
Like,
Do you think?
what have you heard about it, and
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
And the stigma, I think it's doing more good than harm, but it does do harm.
It's patronizing, right?
It's a
It's
little bit patronizing.
patronizing, yeah.
Because-
Especially since we're focusing on teenagers, I think it's especially patronizing because they reach this point in their lives where they're adults,
Yeah.
or either they're young men and women, and it's time for them to start. They want to be treated like adults,
Yes.
and so you have this stigma thing where it's like these. Like cheesy, encouraging messages like,
Exactly.
"Oh, you're doing so great," and flowers and all this stuff,
Yeah.
and it's a little patronizing because
Yeah.
again, it's trying to end the stigma, but it's also putting a focus on like the
Kids.
exactly.
It's like I'd say that it's patronizing for the main aspect that it's like almost like making kids not want to open up even more.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing this go on, you're getting like these like messages and stuff, but it's like, am I actually
Yeah.
doing good? Like,
Yeah.
I'm reading it, but I'm not believing it, and
Exactly.
I'm not seeing it.
But I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, just the idea of like #end the stigma, and just the idea that someone is thinking about this and like is a sign of progress, right?
Yeah,
People are, at the end of the day, it does still open a conversation about mental health, and
Yeah.
that's really the place to start. That's really what we want, right? Like, like in general, you say it's doing more good than harm. Can you like elaborate on that a little bit?
So basically, I think that it's allowing, like saying, this is coming from somebody that was like pushed down, and I pushed down all of my problems, and
Yeah.
it's just like I didn't want to open up about anything. This like makes kids like it makes it comfortable, but yet sometimes you look at it and you're like, you have to question it. That's the harm, but the good is like it's allowing you to be like get more comfortable in your skin. Like it's like,
Yeah.
come on, kid, like you got this.
Yeah,
like,
exactly,
you can
yeah.
do this. Like, don't be scared to open up. It's allowing a lot more people to speak out about their problems and allows them to ask for the help that they need.
Yeah.
And even like for #end the stigma, like they have like numbers that you can text, like, and it has like personal, not like personal therapists, but online therapists that you can go to and like talk to for like help and stuff, and they can like these people can even refer you to,
Which
like,
I think is so valuable because like,
it is.
because with loved ones, like the problem with opening up is because you feel like you're going to be judged, and you feel
Exactly.
like people that are close to you are going to look at you differently, and extreme measures might be taken
Yeah.
for you to get help. But with this anonymous kind of, then you can really open up about it. Yeah.
And even like there's like more than just end the stigma. There's now like gethelp.com.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, or I think it's like getbetterhelp.com, and it's like
Yeah.
just
like better help. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
it's
yeah.
just like a website of therapists that you can go on, talk to for free. No payment needed, nothing. And they are allowed to refer you to doctors in your area. They're allowed to refer you to psychiatrists in your area. I was actually just talking to my therapist on Tuesday. I just went, and she was like, like she was like, you have a wide variety of resources, and so many people don't even know.
Yeah,
Like, so many people
exactly.
don't even know. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? They're like, she was like talking about how like there's like now websites and stuff that have therapists on it and psychiatrists on it, and there's even apps now that are being created for like mental health specific.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
All of this kind of like just opens the door a little bit to this conversation about
It's-
mental health,
and
to
it's-
this change. Even if like these specific things are making like a huge impact in exactly what they're trying to do, they're opening up that broader discussion.
yeah, it's like a hinge of a door is being snapped off.
Exactly.
It's like we're breaking down the door and we're finally making progress.
Yeah, definitely. I just looked up the BetterHelp thing, and like shows up. It's a website, and then it just shows you to all these different online services, and it tells you their ratings and how many people there, and that's really good that like that's readily available.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a value in being anonymous with this kind of, which there shouldn't have to be, right? Like we
Exactly.
shouldn't be
Scared to
judged and
open
scared
up.
to open up to
We
our
shouldn't
loved
be
ones,
judged
right?
or scared to open up to any of our parents, but there's a sad fact that
That's
a
how
lot
it
of us
is.
are.
Do you think so? Are you thinking that it'll just keep getting better? Do you think as generations
I cannot say for sure.
Yeah.
Because again,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a wave. Like it goes up and down
Yeah.
a lot. And it's like almost like, for like civil rights movements, like it's a wave. We had a really high up and now we're going down. What's going to happen with kids now with mental health? They're going to get worse and worse.
Mhm.
And now people are just going to start crawling back into their own skin, and they're going to be scared again.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any help or the resources for it. But I'm thinking now, since we have a lot more resources than we did like 20 years ago, like 10, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
it'll be better, but it's not going to get to 100% just yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think are some concrete steps that we can take in the right direction?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I'd say that whenever like a kid comes to you and like they're really wanting to like they're scared to open up, go in with an open mind.
Exactly. Don't come
don't,
with
like-
assumptions.
Don't be like don't rush up to them and be like, "Are you okay? Like, are you good?" Like, no, because you're skyrocketing their anxiety. They're getting scared.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You need to be like,
You need to treat them just how you treat
everybody else.
Like if a kid came to you with a broken arm,
yeah,
you'd like that, or maybe not quite
not
broken,
like a
but
broken
let's say
arm, but
not
like,
like let's say a kid like comes up to you and like, I have a fever. You're like, oh, okay, like how can we like approach this? Like, I'll give you some medicine, or like
I'll give you some medicine.
instead
Let me
of,
tuck you in a bed.
oh my
let me
God,
make
you're gonna
let me
die.
ma-
Like you're not
you're gonna
even,
die.
Yeah,
No,
like
no, no.
you're not. Yeah.
Let me make you some hot soup. I'll give you some
like
chicken
literally
noodle soup or
like
something like that.
because you're going into it with the mindset of like, you have a fever. Okay, like that's not forever. Like
Yeah,
you'll be fine.
and I think kids need to know it's not forever.
It's not forever.
It's
Yeah.
not forever.
It's really not forever.
It's truly, it will be there for a long time, but it gets so much better.
It really does. It really does.
You gain the knowledge of control, and having control is something that we all fantasize and romanticize about, because it's the one thing that humans know how to do.
Yeah.
Control. It goes way back in our roots, like way back.
Yeah.
Like even to the first human. Like, come on. What happened there? Like,
yeah.
People start wars for control.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But now people just want control over their own lives. That's what we look for. That's what we search for. And a lot of us don't even really have like the necessary necessities to even have that,
Yeah.
It's just like one of those it's just one of those sad aspects that kids sometimes don't have the help that they need.
Yeah, I think and I think a big part of like approaching the conversation, if someone comes to you with like mental health concerns, with their mental health issues, like approaching it in terms of like, please don't dehumanize them.
Yeah.
Please don't patronize them. They're not less than because it like the patronizing is really
Gonna like
really it's really
that's
bad.
like a low blow.
That's a really low blow.
Like I'd feel like if I like saw somebody like patronizing somebody that was like crying, I'd be like, dude,
Yeah.
like chill out.
Because if someone has a fever or something, you don't patronize them because it doesn't define who they are. It's literally an illness, and
Exactly.
mental health, it's a sickness just like anything else.
And like I'd be like, I'm 95% sure that you have your own problems. So why are you patronizing somebody else whenever
Exactly.
you're dealing with something that
Yeah.
could be similar? Like and that's another sad fact. People go around patronizing other people because they have something in common that they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
And it's just like, with people with disabilities too, like you have no right to, treat people with disabilities differently because you're like, most people become disabled within their lifetime.
Oh yeah.
So like anyone is susceptible to depression, like anxiety, like that kind of thing. So like just go into it with an open mind. Like nobody's less than for having mental health issues because everyone's gonna face that at some point.
Yeah. I think there's just like there are a lot of consequences to it too.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I've internalized my problems a lot, and I felt like a burden to my friends and family because of my problems, to where I would like distance myself from these people that I really care about, or like people that really care about me, because I don't want them to be dragged down with me.
Yeah,
I'm like-
exactly.
I'm like sitting there, I'm like, like my friend group, like a little bit ago, like I was having a really bad like bipolar episode. Like it was like bad to where like I completely blocked all of them. I like blocked them on Snap, numbers, Instagram, and they were like scared for me.
Yeah.
And like they approached me, like I was like in the library, like, you know, sitting off in a corner, like not wanting to speak to anyone, and a bunch of them approached me and they're like, we need to like sit down and like talk about this, because like this, like we're scared for you. And it's just like this has like made me suffer even worse mental health than opening up about it. And it's just like a scary aspect that like the romanticizing has caused. Yeah. Because I'm like, they're not gonna like get it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think part of this, I honestly think that a big part of the solution starts with, let's see some representation for like the complexities of mental health.
Exactly.
Let's stop perpetuating in the media, in our conversations, in books, this romanticized idea of depression.
Exactly.
Like, let's start breaking it down a little bit. Let's start talking about different things that different people have and what they actually are and how they actually affect people.
Like in books, and like how you said, in books and in media, like, you know, shameless Ian Gallagher. Yeah. He is diagnosed with bipolar disorder. That is a horrible representation of bipolar.
Like, honestly, like different.
He's throwing stuff around? Please.
Yeah.
If, like, I have bipolar, sure, I tweak out a little bit, but, like, I'm not going and, like, throwing, like, a bat and hitting,
he
like,
just
a
has
smash in the window.
Yeah, like, I remember watching, like, the not new Puss in Boots movie, but, like, kind of new, where, like, Puss has, like, a panic attack, right?
Yeah.
And, like, it's done so well. And I remember just seeing, like, so much, like, praise for it, because, like, finally now we're starting to get realistic, like, as someone who, like, potentially has panic disorder, not diagnosed, but, like, used to have, like, daily panic attacks for months and months. Like, I've had, like, hundreds of panic attacks, and, like, just seeing it represented in the media in that, like, in such a realistic way was just so refreshing to see. And, like, now I feel like people can start to understand kind of what I'm going through, you know?
Yeah. And like you said, like, panic, like, nobody knows. Like, nobody knows what they have until, like, they're actually going in and getting diagnosed.
Yeah.
And, like, panic disorder, again, that comes in multiple different versions. Panic disorder can be, like, oh, like, I have, like, panic attacks once a month, but they're really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like, oh, I have, like, small little panic attacks, like, throughout the week. And it's, like, it's just, again, there's, like, a large variety of it that people have to genuinely think about.
Yeah, like, I think in society, like, we have, like, there's depression and there's anxiety, and that's mental health. Like, that's mental health. And then I guess, like, there's ADHD and OCD that people also generalize. But, like, in terms of when people think bad mental health, people think depression and anxiety. And then this is very, like, romanticized idea of depression where it's, like, people crying, and that's it. Like, that's the image of what depression is, and anxiety is people getting nervous when they take a test, which, like, everyone does. Everyone gets nervous when they take a test.
Anxiety.
Let's start talking about what anxiety actually is and how it actually affects people, and how depression isn't necessarily, like, just sadness. Like, come on, everyone experiences sadness at points in their life.
Exactly.
Depression is, like, so much more complex. There's different types of it. Yeah.
Like, depression is a broader aspect of sadness, if I should say.
Yeah.
It's more
it's like a prolonged sadness.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a very prolonged sadness.
It's like, again, you have your good days, and then you have, like, your bad days. Then you have your really bad days.
Yeah.
But your really bad days is what's basically analyzing that, like, depression.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. Like, that's, like, this is, like, what's making it dysfunctional in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, again, with the test anxiety, like, everyone has test anxiety, but then there's people that have anxiety disorder that like freak out.
Like
They
literally-
get
yeah,
in their
exactly,
head
yeah.
during the test, and they're like, I can't do this. Like I have, like again, I've gone through that so many different times, even like here too.
Yeah.
So we're like, I'm doing this. I'm looking up at the clock and I'm looking down at the question. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this.
No,
because
yeah.
you walk in, like you feel like you know everything, and then you sit down. That timer starts, and then it's like it goes all out the door, and you're like, oh boy. Like,
Yeah,
here
no,
we go.
I had accommodations in high school. I could get them now, but I haven't gone around to. But I had accommodations in high school. Like I had extra time, I had time and a half on tests because of anxiety. Because like I had a doctor's note. I got diagnosed with severe anxiety, and like I couldn't take a test within the normal like time period because of like
Yeah.
severe anxiety.
I had that in middle school as well. For my ADHD, they gave me extra time on tests. I haven't taken it here, but my last chemistry test, I walk in there, thought I knew stuff. I looked at it, and then after, I'm like, oh my god, I just hope I got a 60 on this.
Yeah,
Gen Chem.
yeah,
Yeah, but I was surprised that I did okay, so I'm fine with
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
And I think for like for representation of many different things in media, a lot like people don't actually just talk to the people who experience it. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? Like I think like I don't know. Like why don't for like if you're gonna display depression and anxiety in media, like talk to someone who actually is going through that.
Like they're talking to celebrities.
They're talking to celebrities.
Like you're talking to somebody that
It's
is formulated.
Yeah.
Screenwriters,
It's formulated in a
celebrities,
media. Like
yeah, like let's talk to someone who actually has it. You know what I mean?
yeah, they're like somebody's like, oh, we're gonna talk about mental health. Let's bring in Zendaya.
Yeah. Okay.
Bring in Zendaya. I'm pretty sure her last problem is mental health. I think she's like, of course she's working on it, but she also has like, you're acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, you're acting, and that's what they do. That's how they formulate it, and that's how they go through like these phases in life.
Exactly.
And like bringing in like actors and stuff like that, it doesn't, especially on like podcasts and stuff, it doesn't show like how down to or like someone being down to earth with it. Usually, most people that are watching it have no clue like what that's like being a celebrity. They will have their own anxiety, probably depression as well, but it's not gonna be the same to most people that are experiencing it in their daily lives.
Yeah, and like we glamorize these people and stuff like that, and like we're like, okay, they're perfect, so we have to be perfect.
Yeah.
You know,
Literally.
and that just like perpetuates the stigma even more.
No, literally. It's like, it's like you're going to like a concert of your favorite band, and like you see like like the lead singer, and you're like, oh, they're not as tall as I thought they would be.
He's just a guy.
He's just a guy.
He's just a guy that can
He's
sing.
He's just a guy that can sing. He's not as tall as I thought. Because like we think of celebrities as if they're like 7'5".
Yeah, and yeah, I feel like social media going off that, social media plays such a big part in perpetuating the stigma around mental health, especially with teens, like the age group that like uses their phones the most, and we're like looking like especially with Instagram. I want to say especially with Instagram, like we're looking at like people's highlight reels. We're looking at what like people want to be like the perfect images of people, and then we think that we have to be like that. So when we start experiencing mental health issues, we don't talk about it because it's like, oh, or we almost don't like admit to ourselves that we're having a hard time because it's like, oh, I need to be perfect, and like I need to be like what I'm looking at.
And I think like people don't know that they're comparing themselves to another person until like somebody calls it out. Like somebody's like, why are you basically like trying to become this person?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, and then they're like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm literally not. What do you mean? And then the more that you think about it and the more that you look at it, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. Like, I'm actually like, I'm comparing myself to this person.
Yeah. Did you have any final thoughts? Anything else you wanted to bring up?
I think that mental health is like, it's something that needs to become a household term.
Yeah.
It needs to be, again, normalized, talked about, because if we don't normalize it or not talk about it, it's just going to keep on getting worse. And then we're just going to keep on losing kids, even adults to it. And I've already lost enough friends to suicide in my life.
Yeah.
And people, even mental health isn't just suicide. Car crashes kills kids.
Yeah.
Like, I've lost a bunch of friends to car crashes, suicide. I've lost a friend that overdosed. I lost a friend that's like wrapped themselves around a tree because they were angry. They were angry that their parents didn't listen to them or to any of their
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
And I think about this and I'm like, I can't fathom being a parent and not just sitting there and taking the time to listen to my child.
Exactly. And like parents are like pushing like talking about drinking and like as if it's the worst thing in the world. Like like if you're willing to talk about the dangers of drinking so much, like why aren't you willing to talk about other things that put your kid in danger?
Exactly.
Like mental health.
Like, I understand parents are like, oh, well, like, you know, I've already been through like teenage things and like back in my day, like, it's not back in your day anymore.
It's not anymore.
It's
Exactly.
not in your
It's
day
different
anymore.
now. Like let's
it's a
talk
completely
about
different environment.
today and what teens are going through today.
Your day was kids being shoved in lockers. Our day is somebody posting about us,
Is
and it's
someone
getting
leaking our private
reposted
information
over and
online.
over and over again
So,
onto so many
yeah,
different people's
like
stories.
why don't we address that exactly? Like like where you talk about car safety, like there's ads for, you know, like click it or ticket, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Like, buckle your seatbelt. So why aren't there billboards that are talking about mental health? Why aren't parents talking about that in the home?
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you're driving on the highway and then you look up and there's like one of those signs. It's like, hey, drive safe.
Put the phone down. Exactly.
Or like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm sitting there like, oh, like that's cool. Why not? Let's walk down Manhattan. You see like all those billboards. Again, how you said, why isn't there something that's like, just know that you're going to be okay?
Exactly. And for anyone listening, if you want to help out, I think the best place to start is just asking someone how their day is. I know that's cliche, but I think everything that's cliche is cliche for a reason. Asking someone how their day is, and when they say good, you say genuinely, tell me about it.
I want to
say I want to know how you're doing.
Exactly. I
Actually.
want you to throw me into your day.
And if you're doing good, tell me why you're doing good.
Exactly. And I think, like, even, again, also, like, if somebody comes up to you and they're really, like, you know that they're struggling and you don't know if they're ready or not, go in.
Go in with an open mind. Don't be like, you need to do this, and that. Just give them a hug. Give them a damn hug.
Exactly.
Give them
Like,
and let them talk.
Be like, how's your day doing? How are you doing? Like, how's your day going?
Oh, I'm okay.
No. Okay. How's your day going?
I'm good.
That's good. What did you guys do today?
I slept, I woke up, I ate a hot dog, and I came here.
All right. Well, I'm going to go now. Don't do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Mhm.
Like,
Or
that's,
if
Yeah.
I were to say like, if Cohen, if you were to come to me and open up about something that you're struggling with, open up about your mental health, and I was just like, okay, well, here's exactly what. Have you tried drinking water? Have you tried getting
Yeah.
sunshine?
Yeah.
Like,
Like-
have you like
why are you
taken out, like,
micromanaging me?
stop telling. Like, I would just go into it with an open mind
Exactly.
and listen to what you have to say, and then offer you support in however. Like, you could like literally, there's no harm in saying, how do you need me to support you right now?
Yeah,
and just
so what if it's taking time out of your day? It's taking time out of
Like,
your
this
day
is
to help
to
a
help
friend.
someone that
Like,
and
you-
literally you can save a life.
Yeah.
Like a hug can save a life.
A hug can save a life. Aww.
Aww.
Hashtag hug can save a life. Like,
That
I don't know.
should've been new.
No, but like, that made me lose my train of thought.
That's fine.
But like, again, it's almost like, yeah, like a hug can save a life, a handshake can save a life. Like,
Just-
if you see someone going through it, don't be afraid to shoot them a text.
Like, how can I support you?
Like,
And make it known that you actually want to know.
and even if it's somebody that you don't even know, which I don't understand, like people's like empathy and sympathy not like spreading across other people that
Exactly.
they don't know.
They don't, yeah.
It's like you're sitting here and you're like, oh, well, that kid's crying. He's crying.
Yeah, he-
like,
like,
what is
There's
wrong?
got like just talk about it. Like it doesn't need to be like, oh, he's like let me back away. Let me pretend I don't see him. Like,
exactly.
yeah.
Like,
Like,
what do
if that
you
guy
mean?
wants to be left alone, ask him like how he wants to be supported. If he wants to be left alone, leave him alone.
Like,
At least check.
But at least check.
Yeah.
At least try. Yeah, exactly.
like you don't have to like sit down and have like a full-on conversation with like a person that you don't know, but like you said, at least check with them and be like, are you good? Like, are you okay? Like, hey, like, let's like go take a hike, let's go take a walk. Like, again, if you haven't heard from a friend, like if you're like, say like a really close friend hasn't texted you at all today, text them.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, Cohen, thank you very much. Thank you for being so open and answering all these questions for us. And thank you to anyone who's listening. Have a great day.